Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Imagine a wolf, not deep in a snowy forest, but standing on a rocky shoreline. Its gaze fixed on the waves. It isn't listening for the crack of a twig. It's waiting for the slap of a seal's flipper. Now picture a jaguar, the apex predator of the Amazon, stalking not a tapir in the undergrowth, but a giant sea turtle on a moonlit beach. These aren't scenes from a fantasy novel. They are happening right now. All over the world, the planet's great land predators are turning to the sea for survival, blurring the ancient line between terrestrial and marine life. This is a story of necessity, opportunity, and the profound, often unexpected, consequences of our human footprint on the planet. Let's start on the rugged coast of British Columbia and Alaska. This is the home of the sea wolf. For years, we thought these were just gray wolves that happened to live near the coast. But recent genetic studies tell a completely different story. These wolves are a distinct ecotype, a unique population with their own genetics, physical traits, and behaviors, all finely tuned for a life subsidized by the ocean. They are generally smaller than their inland cousins and are masters of the coastal terrain. They are incredible swimmers, capable of crossing several kilometers of open, cold ocean to travel between the islands of the archipelago they call home. And their diet is astonishing. Researchers have found that for some of these wolf packs, up to 90% of their food comes from the sea. They feast on salmon during the spawning runs, they scavenge on whale carcasses that wash ashore, and they have learned to expertly hunt seals and sea lions, ambushing them on rocky haulouts. But the story is still evolving. In a stunning recent development in Alaska's Katmai National Park, scientists documented wolves systematically hunting and killing sea otters. This was a behavior never seen before. It wasn't just one or two opportunistic kills. It was a learned strategy, with wolves stalking otters from the shoreline and ambushing them in the shallow waters. This single behavioral shift has massive implications, which we will explore later. Now, let's travel south, to Tortuguero National Park in Costa Rica. This park is a world-famous nesting ground for several species of sea turtles, including the giant green turtle. For decades, the main threat to these turtles and their eggs were smaller predators and human poachers. But in the 1990s, a new, much larger predator appeared on the beaches, the jaguar. Jaguars, the largest and most powerful felines in the Americas, began to systematically prey on the nesting female turtles. This was a shock to conservationists. The cause wasn't a mystery. Deforestation and agricultural expansion had fragmented the jaguar's forest habitats and depleted their traditional prey, like peccaries and deer. Driven by hunger, the jaguars were pushed to the coast, where they found a new, abundant, and vulnerable food source. A single jaguar can kill dozens of turtles in a nesting season. It's a stark example of how pressure on a terrestrial ecosystem can spill over and create a new dynamic in a marine one. The pattern continues with other species. In California, adaptable coyotes are thriving along the coast. With the grizzly bear, their historic competitor, long gone from the state, coyotes are filling that vacant ecological niche. Studies have shown them developing a taste for marine life, consistently foraging for crabs, marine invertebrates, and other morsels left by the receding tide. On the other side of the continent, red foxes are increasingly seen patrolling dunes and beaches, hunting for the eggs and chicks of shorebirds. So why is this happening on such a large scale? There are two primary drivers: necessity and opportunity. The first, necessity, is the story of the jaguar. It's a direct consequence of habitat loss. As we shrink and degrade forests and grasslands, we deplete the prey base that terrestrial predators rely on. Pushed to the edge, they have no choice but to explore new frontiers for food, and the coast is a rich, dynamic boundary. The second driver is opportunity, and it's something of a conservation paradox. The story of the sea wolves and the sea otters is a perfect example. Sea otters were hunted to near extinction for their fur. Thanks to incredible conservation efforts, Their populations have bounced back in many parts of the Pacific Northwest. This success has created a new, dense, and readily available food source for predators. The wolves of Katmai didn't start hunting otters because they were starving. They started because there was suddenly a floating buffet just offshore. In a way, the success of marine conservation created an unforeseen opportunity for a terrestrial predator, forging a brand new ecological link. Hovering over all of this is the global specter of climate change, which acts as a stress multiplier, warping habitats, shifting prey distributions, and forcing all species into a desperate game of adaptation. But what happens when a wolf starts eating a sea otter, or a jaguar starts eating a sea turtle? The consequences are not simple. They create a ripple effect that can rewire entire ecosystems. This is a concept known as a trophic cascade. Let's follow that wolf and otter in Alaska. Sea otters are a keystone species. This means they have a disproportionately large effect on their environment relative to their abundance. One of their favorite foods is the sea urchin. In a healthy coastal ecosystem, otters keep the urchin population in check. Now, introduce wolves. Wolves begin to prey on the sea otters, reducing their numbers. With fewer otters, the sea urchin population explodes. What do urchins eat? They graze on kelp. An army of unchecked sea urchins can mow down an entire kelp forest, creating what's known as an urchin barren, an underwater desert. Kelp forests are vital ecosystems. They act as nurseries for countless fish species, provide habitat for invertebrates, and protect coastlines from erosion. So by preying on otters, a land predator, the wolf, can indirectly cause the collapse of an underwater forest. It's a mind-bending demonstration of interconnectedness, where the howl of a wolf can determine the fate of a kelp forest. There's another, more sinister consequence to this great melding of realms: the transfer of toxins. Our oceans are unfortunately repositories for persistent industrial pollutants, like PCBs and mercury. These toxins enter the base of the food web, absorbed by plankton and algae. They then accumulate in the bodies of the animals that eat them. This process, called biomagnification, means that toxin concentrations increase at each level of the food chain. A small fish might have a low level. A seal that eats hundreds of those fish will have a much higher level. And now, the sea wolf that eats that seal receives a highly concentrated, potentially lethal dose of marine pollution. A life-saving meal can become a death sentence, causing reproductive failure, neurological damage, and a weakened immune system. Furthermore, when that wolf dies inland, it deposits those concentrated marine toxins into the terrestrial soil, creating a toxic highway that moves pollution from the sea to the land. This phenomenon completely shatters our traditional approach to conservation. The discovery that coastal wolves are a genetically distinct ecotype means they can't be managed as just another gray wolf population. They are an irreplaceable component of biodiversity, a unique product of evolution that requires its own specific conservation plan. The conflict between jaguars and sea turtles forces us to address the root causes of habitat loss inland, recognizing that you cannot save the turtles without also managing the forest the jaguar needs. The lines are blurring. We can no longer draw a neat line on a map and call one side terrestrial conservation and the other marine conservation. The biosphere is a single, deeply interconnected system. The wolf swimming between islands, the jaguar stalking the nesting beach, the coyote scavenging the tide line. They are not freaks of nature. They are pioneers, problem solvers, and survivors. But they are also messengers. Their journey to the sea is a direct, real-time reflection of our own impact on the planet. Their story is a call for a more holistic and humble approach to conservation, one that recognizes the intricate, surprising, and powerful connections that bind all life. The shore is no longer a simple boundary. It is a new frontier, a place of peril and promise, where the apex predators of the land are learning, out of necessity and opportunity, to master the sea.